Hey guys, it's Nicole. I'm back with another video, and today's video is going to be about a book. And like I've been doing, I'm kind of gonna continue with the theme of I liked reading these books, but they weren't my favorite. Like they were good, but they weren't like amazing and didn't really speak to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So the book that I'm gonna be talking about today is The Great Gatsby. This is actually the first time I read this book. I read this last year. I actually never read it in high school. I don't know what year most people read The Great Gatsby in high school. I know it's a classic. If it's usually like freshman year of high school, I had a very weird English teacher that year, and that's a story for another day. But we did not read The Great Gatsby at all, or any of those classics. So never read that, never read Romeo and Juliet in high school either. It was other stuff. Like I said, it's a weird story for another day. I did go to public school, by the way. It's just teachers sometimes can do what they want. But anyway, I have never read The Great Gatsby before. I decided it was about time. It's an American classic. And I had seen the movie first years ago, not when it came out, but definitely years ago. I have already seen the movie. So I enjoyed the movie a lot. Obviously the actors in it, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, all of them, they're really great. The movie was really great. And I figured I would like the book as well. And the cover is pretty cool. I do love the cover. It's very artistic, I guess I could say. And like I said, have mixed feelings about this one. I'm not going to give spoilers, I promise. When I start to give spoilers, I will let you know. And I think the reason I didn't love this book is it didn't wow me. It was really good. I appreciated the complexity of the romance between the characters. There was a lot of character development that I felt was lacking to me. Again, this is just a personal opinion. I'm not a literary critic. So the plot was good. The romantic relationships, I really appreciated the complexity there. I thought that was really, really good. But I think my main thing is I feel like, and don't hate me for saying this, I feel like it's a little overrated. It's, to me, I think at the time it was released, because I think it was a long time ago. I have no idea when actually, okay, it looks like possibly the 1920s was when it was first published. So I think at the time it was published, I think that it was an amazing work at the time. I think that's what happens a lot with certain classics, because they were so revolutionary for their time. They become this unequivocal, this is an amazing piece of work for the rest of time. And I don't think that that's fair. I think that it was probably incredible and groundbreaking for its time, but it just feels a little overrated today. Not to say it's not a good book, it just didn't wow me. Does that make sense? And I feel the same way, and this is another huge controversial opinion, and any of my acting friends or teachers that hear me say this might totally condemn me for saying this, but we all have opinions, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I also feel the same way about Shakespeare. I think Shakespeare's works are good, but I think that they're very overrated. I think that they were incredible for their time, just like The Great Gatsby. I think that they were revolutionary and something brand new and something that really caught everyone's attention because it really represented the time. But today, it's a really great way to experience how things were back in the time that they were written, but they're not this amazing thing that is still so incredible today. It's just something good to appreciate because you can put yourself in their feelings, in their shoes. There's always going to be things that we can relate to throughout human history. And I think that's all really good. I think it's good to read Shakespeare. I think it's good to read The Great Gatsby. I think it's really important to always read things from different times and different perspectives. But at the same time, I do believe that it's overrated for the time we're in now. Like, I'm not saying there's works that have been done in the last 10 years that are so much better than these. You know, this is really a personal opinion, and you can hate my opinion if you want, but this is literally just an opinion. I'm not saying these are terrible and completely overrated and no one should read them. I'm saying I personally find them overrated. And although I think they're important to read, I don't find them to be amazing works that need to be so in the forefront all the time. You know, I don't think that they're that great now. I think that they were important and that they are important, but just overrated is my point. So again, I might get condemned for that. I think I might even be condemned for saying The Great Gatsby is overrated, but I am positive I might get condemned for saying Shakespeare is overrated, because without the context of me being like, I think he's overrated now, he was not overrated back then, just now, I don't know. I just feel like people might not like me saying that, but this is my opinion. So if you don't like it, don't watch the video. So that being said, I am really glad I read the book because I have already said that I think it's still good to read things from different perspectives. And that includes things from different times, you know? Like a lot of the books that I read are very modern, but there are times that I like to read things that were written 50 to 100 like years ago that are still really good to read, you know? Like maybe they aren't my favorite and I'm not going to reread them and I'm not going to highly recommend them to a bunch of people, but I still enjoy reading them because there's something, I don't want to say humbling, but I feel like there's just something that's good for you as a person, like good for your brain, to read things from different perspectives. And that includes things from different time periods. And I really liked reading this book in the sense that the romantic relationships were really well written. I do truly believe that and mean it when I say it. F. Scott Fitzgerald really, really did do an amazing job writing these romantic relationships and people making these decisions based on their feelings. Even if the decisions don't make sense, it's because of the romantic nature of the relationship that they're making those decisions. So I think that that was really great, and that's another reason why I liked the movie when I watched it. So, like I said, mixed feelings. I think it's a good thing to read for sure, but it's not my favorite. I think it's good. It's not amazing and incredible, and it didn't make me feel all these things, but I thought it was really good. I'm very glad that I read it. So I do recommend reading it because I think there's a lot you can get from it and definitely be entertained. But it's not my favorite. So I'm kind of in the middle about it. It's very, I think it's a little bit better than okay. Let's put it that way. So that's kind of what I have to say without spoilers. So I'm going to go into stuff like my thoughts about things that definitely involve spoilers. So if you haven't read it and you don't want spoilers, because again, I'm 27 years old and just read this last year. So there's no such thing as like, oh, you haven't read it yet? Like, what's wrong with you? Because people just read things at different ages. So if you haven't read it yet and you don't want spoilers, you should go ahead and turn the video off because I'm going to go into spoilers. So if you're leaving, thank you so much for watching. But we're going to go into spoilers now. And I think that it was really well written with the character Gatsby in mind is who I'm really thinking of, because, and like on the surface, it seems so simple and like romantic. You know, he meets this girl years in the past, falls completely head over heels in love with her, and then they lose contact. You know, I'm not going to go into the details, but they lose contact. And then when he's back and he's around and he now has all this money, he wants to find her and he wants her back, but he doesn't know how to find her. But he knows the general area that she's in. So he throws all these parties at his ginormous mansion, basically all the time, in order to lure her there, to try to win her back, basically. And it seems kind of simple on the surface, you know, like he's just in love and he's just, you know, doing what you would expect people to do when they're in love. But I kind of appreciate how the book, it doesn't necessarily romanticize the way Gatsby goes about things and the way he's behaving, you know, because on the surface it seems very romantic, right? Like this guy is so in love with her and he's trying so hard to be everything he can be so that, you know, maybe she'll want him again, because he knows, I think he knows that she's already with someone else. So it seems romantic on the surface, but it's really, I think when you read the book, and if you haven't read it in a long time, maybe you should and you'll see what I mean. I think it's well written in this aspect that you learn throughout the book, especially as you get towards the end, how it's not really romantic, it's obsessive. And it's not necessarily creepy, it's not necessarily stalker or, you know, anything bad, but it is obsessive. It's not a healthy level of, I love this person and I want to try to win them to be with me. It's this complete obsession with the person and the idea of the person. So I like the way it was written in that way, because it's not just this cute little surface romantic thing. It's this man who seemingly on the outside has all of this wealth and power and has everything you could want in life, but he's so obsessed, and his entire life at that point is built on that obsession. He bought the house for her. He throws the parties for her. And eventually, when he finally does get her to come to his house, through his neighbor, because that's who this story is told through. Nick tells the story. And Nick is Daisy's cousin, and Daisy is the woman that Gatsby's in love with. When he finally gets her to come over, he becomes this delusional, hopeless romantic, I guess you could say, where he's convinced that he can win Daisy over and get her to leave her husband. Because I believe she got married. I believe she's married. And she has a young child. And to me, I like the way that's written, because it's not this, wow, how romantic, like, oh, I want a man to do that to me kind of thing. It's like, this guy clearly is suffering so much, and this obsession has taken over his entire life. And it's actually really, really tragic. And I think that was really, really beautifully written. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons why this book was so well regarded at the time and even now. And I think that's why I like it so much. I think it's a really good example of how people are not perfect, because even Daisy is not great. You know, when she sees Gatsby again and they start spending more time together, she's very clearly emotionally cheating on her husband. Like, she very clearly still loves Gatsby. She is very happy to step out of her life and walk into Gatsby's house and live in a fantasy world of, like, she is with Gatsby for a time, but then she goes home to her husband and her kid. And I think that speaks to the time. It really does. I think that's another reason it was so incredible of the time, because, you know, in the 20s, you know, women and we're still marrying to marry and have the financial support of a man and, start a family and what you were supposed to do in those times. And so I think it really does speak to that. And the fact that she ends up basically having an emotional, and I think slightly physical, I think they kiss at a few points, affair with Gatsby throughout the book. The interesting thing to me that also really makes the book so, I don't want to say relatable, but human for sure, is when Daisy and Gatsby are in the car and Daisy's driving and she hits the woman running out of the garage and she kills her. Because you want to go, well, stop the car, go make sure she's okay. But Daisy doesn't. She just floors it and keeps driving. And I think that's a very real human reaction. Was it okay? No, of course it wasn't okay. Like, she committed vehicular manslaughter, so that's not okay. But it does feel like a very human reaction. Because when Daisy got in the car to drive, she wanted to drive to calm her nerves. That is not a reason to drive. Obviously, not a good thing for her to do at all. She shouldn't have been allowed to get behind the wheel. If you're going through emotional distress, you should not be driving. And when she hit that woman, I don't know if she panics or her mind just shuts down or she's just so focused on just driving, but she just keeps going and she doesn't stop. And I think it speaks to how real that is. Everything that Daisy was going through up to that point, and then she does that, and then she keeps driving, and it just feels very real to me, like a very, very real situation that could happen. Because that's how humans are. We're not perfect. We're not gonna, in the situation, in the thing that's happening, go, oh, this is the correct thing to do right now, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Because that's not how the human brain works. We're always gonna be reacting in the current time. It's hindsight is always 20/20, It wasn't okay what she did. She committed a crime, but it makes sense what she did. And that's another thing that just really stood out to me in the book. And like I said, why I think it's a good book. I do still think it's overrated, but I just still think it's a really great book. I think it's really good. I think it's better than okay. Because it's written so realistically. And even though, especially if you watch the movie, because they're both very similar. I have seen the movie and read the book, and I think that they do a good representation of each other. I think that they're both really great. But even though the book takes place during the 20s, which is a really great place to set this book, because the roaring 20s, where it was a time in America where people were, celebrating, the economy was, suddenly really good for a short time. And the war that had happened before, World War I, was over, and it was a time of high emotions, and there was, extravagant parties and lots of money being spent on things, and it feels very real that even in those times, these things happen. The relationships, the complexity of these things still happens, and that's why I really think it's worth a read. The complexity of this book, the underlying relationships and feelings and motivations is really, really great. And I love that they made it into a movie because it turned out really great as a movie. So that's really what I have to say about it. Like I said, even though I think it's overrated, I still think it's really worth a read. I'm kind of in the middle about it, honestly. So I do recommend it, honestly. I think it's a very good thing to read, no matter where you're from, if you're from America or if you're not. I think it speaks to a lot of human truths. And I think that's why, like Shakespeare, it's a classic, right? Because there's always something about classics that are somehow always true, no matter how long it's been since the work was made. It's always like, I can relate to some of this, because not all of it, because life was different in all the different centuries and decades, but there's still something down to its core, something about human behavior and feelings that will always stay true. And that is true with The Great Gatsby. So that's why I really think it's worth a read. And I am glad I read it. So those are my thoughts on The Great Gatsby. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to come for me in the comments about my opinions about it being overrated, please do. This is a friendly channel. If you use like harsh, aggressive language, I may take that down, because this is a channel for just discussion and opinions and for you to listen to my voice. So if you want to come for me in the comments, respectfully, go ahead. But those are my opinions on The Great Gatsby, and thank you so much for watching if you watched all the way through. There's a lot of changes happening in my life, and I am thinking about making some videos about it, especially like as things are happening. I don't know if I'll do like vlogging, because I don't know, I've never lived my life that way. I've never been like, I'm gonna have my phone and record everything that's happening as I go through it, because that just doesn't really feel right. It just feels weird. But I may take some little videos, or maybe take some pictures, and then kind of compile them together and make videos about what's going on in my life. So new and exciting changes are happening that I am very excited to share, and I definitely will be making some kind of video about it, even if it's not a complete vlog. So stick around for those updates. I am very excited for these changes. They're all very good changes, and I can't wait to share them with anyone who's willing to go on the journey with me. So again, thank you so much for watching if you watched all the way through. I appreciate every single person who checks out my channel, who comments or interacts or even subscribes, which is amazing to me. I am nearing 300 subscribers, and I can't even put into words how much it means to me that there's people out there that either want to look at my face or listen to my voice. It's just wild to me. This is just something I like to do for fun. So it really means a lot that there's people out there that enjoy what I do. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next week.